Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting premiere podcast. Damn you, Hollywood. And here's your host, Jigsaw Winfree. He's running a gang, but I hear he's doing okay. Got a cozy little job, sells the Mexican mob packages of candy cane. He's the one they call Dr. Feelgood. He's the one that makes you feel all right. He's the one they call Dr. Winfree. And now, here's your host, Dr. Feelgood himself, Robert Winfree. Yay!
Yeah, but seriously, Mark, how could you talk about Dr. Feelgood and not invite Pat onto that show?
You know, Pat's like Pat's like an ex-girlfriend. You know, it's like I don't want to date you anymore. Okay, well, we won't date again. But I want to go to these events with you. Well, which is it, man? Okay, I'm only going to do this one thing with you. Okay, that's fine. Why didn't you invite me to this other thing? Jesus Christ, go get another girl. Go get another boyfriend.
Hasn't Pat threatened to quit at least like 3 times?
He only threatened to quit that one time. He's just disinterested all the other times. So call me crazy when he wasn't the first person I thought of to talk about Dr. Feelgood on a moment's notice.
Okay, fair enough. All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we are discussing Spiral from the Book of Saw, the latest entry into that long-suffering franchise with an even longer-suffering fan base, and I speak as one of them.
Would you say that it went on the long road to ruin?
Aren't you just clever?
I'm so smart.
For the record, if you're not aware, there is a 2-part Long Road to Ruin series on the first 7 Saw movies, I believe, that I hosted alongside Sean Comer. And you can find those. They've been reposted recently here in the archives with some wonderful title art by a good friend of the podcasting network and occasional guest, Benjamin J. Colon. So give those a listen. I rather enjoyed doing those shows. So they're several years old at this point, but in fact, we didn't actually get Jigsaw on that. I think those all aired before Jigsaw was made, so you can listen to those.
But Jigsaw is also up in the archives.
That's true. We did review Jigsaw here on Damn You Hollywood. Joining me to discuss this particular turkey, Mark Radulich. He of the sore tongue, the bleeding gums Radulich. That's who you are for this particular show, Mark.
You know, the bleeding gums have gotten better. At this point, it's just the sore tongue. If my tongue heals, I actually think I'm in halfway decent shape.
Well, I will hope you don't have to drop your entire body weight onto it while it is kind of pierced and trapped in some nebulous contraption.
We talked before the show. I sympathize with that guy, and for me, that would have been an easy choice. Oh, God. I can rip my tongue out? Sure.
Also joining us, you heard the dulcet tones already. She makes jewelry, which you should probably at least consider buying because she's here and we shill for each other like that. I've not purchased any of her products, not because I think they're bad. They are quite good. I just haven't actually had either the disposable income or being... I do not live at the intersection of geek and chic, as the saying goes.
You haven't had a desire to wear a beret in your hair?
I haven't had long hair in about 3 years.
I was going to say, that's one hell of an introduction. You want to keep digging the hole?
Oh, it's going to get deeper. Give me a sec. I got one more guy to
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, she makes jewelry. I won't buy any of it, but you should. Alexis Hejna!
I didn't say I wouldn't. I said I haven't. Big distinction.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, she makes jewelry. I think it's crap, but you should buy it. Alexis Hejna!
Quit putting words in my mouth. Fine.
I was going to say, at least Mark actually could give me a testimonial. He's bought stuff for his daughter.
I can too.
And you just heard his particular voice come on the podcast. He shows up for the occasional horror movie, or God help us all, terrible sci-fi CGI zombie schlockfest. He exists in the Great Hills of Appalachia, because they're not mountains.
Jason don't even get us started on this. We've already had the mountains discussion. How you guys doing?
We're just grateful you're still alive.
Yeah, that was a rough. I fought the good fight. Came out the other side better than ever. That NSYNC concert really did me in.
Yeah, poor Jason. He was one of our contestants on Tripped Up Trivia, which just aired its first episode, plug. And sadly, the second dose of a certain thing that you inject into your body apparently kicked his ass so badly that by the halfway mark, he had to bow out.
Yeah, it was not pretty, much like my reflection. And this movie.
Really, yeah, this movie more than you. Jason, I would rather watch you flip through a family photo album than go through the majority of this film again.
Well, I mean, my mom is dead, so I mean, I would rather flip through a family photo album as well.
Wow. Okay, moving on.
And there goes the podcast off the rails in the first. It's just in my introduction.
See? That's about as deep as I can realistically dig that hole without stretching this gag any further. So, hi, everyone. We're going to move on to the movie now.
Yay!
Speaking of having been dug into a very deep hole, the Saw franchise.
Bum.
Yeah, so let's just go around the horn real fast. Jason, I'll start with you. You like horror movies. You said, hey, I'll come on and talk about this. Are you regretting that decision? And what expectations did you have for this film?
I had very high expectations, especially once I seen the cast. And the fact that Chris Rock was, adamant about getting a new Saw franchise started. And so, yeah, I had really high expectations. Am I regretting this? Yes. This was probably bottom 2, in my personal opinion, of the Saw legacy. Can you even call it a legacy? I mean, it's kind of like beating a dead horse right now. I mean, it's worse than some of the gags we have here on the Radulich Broadcasting Network.
Yeah, look, as a fan of both, I'm a long-suffering horror fan. I've been a fan of Saw, Hellraiser, and Tremors. And, buddy, all of those go off a cliff. Alexis, you're here because you kind of do most of these. You occasionally bow out for the sake of your own sanity, and I don't blame you. In fact, I envy you. So, you're a bit of a horror. Yeah, I can't call you a horror nut, but you're a bit of an aficionado. So, what were your expectations going into this?
Well, it's funny. I actually held off for the longest time to watch the Saw movies because torture porn and body horror has always kind of been my line in the sand. That's the sort of stuff that really, really bothers me. Hell, I'll admit it that I've had trouble getting through most of the Hellraiser movies. It was actually just not too long ago I finally sat myself down, saw that the first Saw movie was available online, and I said, you know what, I'm going to conquer my fears and I'm going to watch this. And it's actually kind of funny because now the first Saw movie is in my top 10 horror movies of all time. I think it is a brilliant film.
It really is.
Yeah, but after that, I decided I saw 2 and saw 3, and I decided to just stop watching after that. I had heard a lot of mixed reviews, but going into this review, all of the Saw movies minus Jigsaw are available on HBO Max, and I said, I should really watch the entire Saw collection so I can get a better understanding of where we are and how we got here with the franchise. It can be summed up best. I posted on Facebook saying going to binge all 7 Saw movies. A friend of mine said, how are you doing on those? I said, I got to Saw 4 and I needed to take a break. I'll pick up Saw 5 and the rest tomorrow. Comment the next day, I really should have just stopped after Saw 4.
Most people feel they should have stopped after 3. I have my issues with 3. I maintain Saw 1 gets a bad reputation. People think it's violent, gory torture porn, and it's really not. It turns into that the longer the franchise goes, but that first movie, it gets a bad reputation.
No, the first movie is absolutely brilliant. Not to mention there really isn't that much blood. I think you don't see the foot being cut off. I think the bloodiest thing you see is the result of a cop getting a shotgun to the face.
Which even then is shown in It's like the camera pans over a Polaroid of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the razor wire thing. The aftermath of it is pretty gnarly. It's not really bad.
What gets people about that is the way they talk about it, which is actually a really great horror technique. They don't show you; they tell you and let your imagination fill in the gaps.
Exactly. And that's where everything went so far downhill after. I think we can all agree whether you argue 3 was the last good one or 4 was the last good one. I've heard arguments for both of those, but let's all agree at least 5, 6, 7, and Jigsaw were crap.
Yeah. Look, the only good thing about 4, in my opinion, is they get to watch Donnie Wahlberg die.
I kind of think that I should have stopped after 2. I really wasn't a fan of 3.
Trying to parse out 1 and 2 is largely a matter of personal preference. Anyway, Mark, we put this on the schedule because it's a franchise film, and that's one of our bags. You are, I affectionately refer to you as a giant weenie. I know that's not true. It's just a gag that I've kept running so long I have to keep it going at this point. But you're a fan of Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson and the gritty police drama. You know, would you like it? You can't hate this movie, Mark. The movie actually references The Wire.
And check off your bingo card.
All right, so I'm going to say something, and people... I'm going to steal from the Black Irish show since we have Jason here. I'm just going to outright steal your gag. Let me see if I can get the accent right, even though I'm struggling with my tongue tonight. Okay. Now listen, y'all. I'm going to try to piss people off, okay? And if you don't like it, just turn the fucking podcast off. Did I do it, Jason? Is that right?
Damn, I don't sound that hickish.
Yeah, you got a little bit more like... He got a little bit more like Tennessee than West Virginia.
I'll keep working on it.
Damn. I mean, I hurt. First my mom dies, and then you make me a character off the redneck character off The Simpsons.
Oh, yeah. I didn't mean to go.
No. You are not Cletus.
Yeah, I didn't mean to go full Cletus. I was just, I have now heard so many episodes.
You're trespassing on my dirt farm.
All right, can I get one more try? Can I get one more go at this?
Yeah, sure.
No, we don't want a 3-hour podcast.
All right, y'all. I'm going to piss people off, okay? And if you don't like it, just turn the fucking podcast off. Is that better?
A little bit better, but actually you went geographically more towards Texas there, but we'll call it.
All right, I'll keep working on it, Jason. Anyway, so I don't know if anyone noticed this or not, but Chris Rock is an African-American fellow.
Really?
No shit.
My worldview.
Samuel L. Jackson, also famous African-American actor. And not that these were racially driven movies by any stretch of the imagination, but I really thought with Chris Rock at the helm that we would get, I don't know, and I really don't even know how you would do this, but I wanted this to be sort of a reflection of something at least tinged by the African American experience.
How about
by an African American motif in film? Go ahead.
You watched this movie the week after reading Truth, Red, White, and Black and watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and you saw a bunch of black people and went, this will be about the black experience, and it turns out not so much.
Kind of, yeah. But I mean, like, I'm not entirely sure what Chris Rock was trying to do with this, and this is going to dovetail into my review of the movie, so I'm going to make this statement, then I'll back it up later. I'm watching this, and I'm like, okay, Chris Rock, this was a passion project for him. He's got Samuel L. Jackson. What are they what are they using the Saw platform to say? What is the reason he felt the need to inject himself into this franchise? What motifs and themes will he bring to this to make it special? And so I was kind of excited for it because I'm like, okay, Chris Rock can be political. Certainly Samuel L. Jackson has had a thing or two to say. I'm like, what are they going to use this franchise to say? So I was excited by that. Then I saw it, and I'm like, oh, this is fucking Jigsaw again. Only it has these actors in it, and they might as and here's the thing: you could have gotten any actor to play Chris Rock's character. It wouldn't have changed the thing. You could have gotten any actor to play Samuel L. Jackson, and it wouldn't have changed the thing. So I was like, oh, so anything that would have made Spiral special, being produced by Chris Rock as a passion project, utterly absent from this movie, and it's just another... This felt more like Jigsaw Part 2 than it does its own standalone take on the Saw franchise. And that, to me, is the most disappointing thing about it.
I could buy that. All right, so with that out of the way, let's jump into our synopsis of what happens here. We follow Chris Rock's character of Detective Banks for the vast majority of this film. He is called to a homicide scene where they think a bum is hit by a subway train. And it turns out it's a cop who was killed by someone using a lot of the motifs of John Kramer, the Jigsaw Killer. This particular individual is killing police officers and under the auspices of cleaning up the department. A few red herrings are thrown out about other characters this could be. Chris Rock's character is someone who doesn't trust anyone and is largely despised because he turned in a dirty cop. He gets a new partner who, as is the case with most of these movies, the one that you don't suspect is always the one that's doing it. This was painfully obvious. Painfully. His partner winds up faking his own death halfway through. Anyway, the killer goes through and we get some kills via machines with ostensibly some way of saving yourself, which never actually work out. Chris Rock's character unravels. His father, played by Samuel L. Jackson, is around, and his thought is kind of, again, one of the red herrings. Maybe he's the Jigsaw Killer who's getting back at a corrupt police department that he was in charge of at one point, but for them abandoning his son after his son did the right thing. I'm going to skip over a bunch of this because it's all kind of stupid. And we can talk about specifics as people want to talk about them. But again, a couple of detectives are killed. The precinct captain is killed. Chris Rock is called to a location where, surprise, surprise, it's what he thought was his dead partner, who's been pulling the strings because his partner, don't you see, is the son of the dirty cop that Chris Rock turned in, shot and killed a man who was willing to testify against a fellow dirty cop. Chris Rock turned him in. This man is the son of the man who was shot by the dirty cop. He wants to clean things up, and our big final kind of twist is that he's captured Jigsaw. He's captured Chris Rock's father, so he's captured Samuel L. Jackson, and he's trying to get Chris Rock onto his side as someone who can find dirty cops for him to then punish. Chris Rock seems somewhat amenable to this, depending on how you want to read parts of that final sequence. But he wants to save his father. There's a SWAT team called in because they all know where he is at this point. He and Chris Rock get into a fight, but the final trap is sprung where Samuel L. Jackson, mostly drained of blood, is suspended like a marionette and has one arm pulled up as though he is holding a gun, so the SWAT team comes in and shoots him. Chris Rock screams no. Generic bad guy slips away in a freight elevator. Never mind that won't actually save him. The building would be surrounded and cordoned off by the time a SWAT unit gets there. Cut to credits, and I puke the end. I don't know. Again, there's nuance and there's specifics we can get into as details, but this is not a very well thought out movie. It's not a very well written movie. There's giant portions of it that just made me want to put my head through a wall. There's others that made me think, why, oh, why did you choose to leave this in? Not just after filming it, but after writing it. So, Mark, I'll give you first swing of the axe, so to speak.
Well, I want to only say one thing, and then I'm going to defer to Jason and Alexis, and I'll go after them, but before you.
All right.
I wish instead of going down the freight elevator, he had just opened up a portal and walked through it. Because as stupid as this movie was, that might have been the most believable thing in it. And it would have looked cooler.
If he has a Doctor Strange portal come out at the end and he goes to join the Battle of the Undusted.
Yeah.
All right.
And he had to say on your left as he walked through it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Cap, on your left. Zoop.
All right, Alexis, I'll start with you. You've been through the Saw franchise recently, so again, I've seen all of them. I've seen some of them multiple times. But where would you like to start with this? This, at a bare minimum, disappointing, I think, overall effort.
I'll go ahead and say yes, disappointing. However, I am not going to say I puke everything because, frankly, I do think it's bad. But when you hold it up to the last few Saw movies, I think it is much better than those. The problem with this film isn't that isn't the over the top gore that, frankly, is just annoying at this point, like we saw in the last few Saw movies before this. It's that it's kind of boring. This is the film that tries. And for the record, Chris Rock actually gives a very good performance, in my opinion. I mean, this is a comedic actor who I haven't seen make a good movie in I don't know how long. And I thought he really only had the shtick that, like, what you saw in Lethal Weapon 4 of him just going on rants and raves and shit. But I thought he actually did a good job with this. The problem is that none of the other actors seem to be trying. And again, these are all most of these are pretty good actors that I've seen in other things, but they're not really giving us very memorable performances. Even the actor who plays the revealed killer, I've seen him in Handmaid's Tale, and he's phenomenal in that, but he's just kind of bland in this. And the traps are kind of bland, I mean, yeah, they're kind of creative, but there's nothing about them that's really going to stand out.
How is it that this franchise still has not caught up to the simple horror of the reverse bear trap?
In the long run, I just look at it and go, it's not comically over the top enough like the previous Saw movies to leave enough of an impact. And the characters are bland. This isn't a bad movie. It's a forgetful movie. This is a movie that I walked out of and I thought, I am not going to remember a damn thing about this in a few weeks. I mean, it's not Alien Covenant forgetful, but it's pretty damn close.
Might as well have been Spiral from the Book of Pet Sematary. Jason, I have to bring this up because you and I are kind of on the same wavelength about this. That second trap and the bad, like, Chinese finger trap that's supposed to yank your fingers off. You, sir, are a trained paramedic. Correct me, EMT. Correct me if I'm wrong. Wouldn't the fingers just deglove long before they're actually ripped out of the joint?
Yes, the skin would. Your skin is not elastic like that. It would just rip skin off. It would not. Your fingers would not stay intact, no matter the mesh and everything on it. Yeah, it would cause some issues, but yeah, you're gonna give skin before you take the finger out of the bone and rip it from the palm of the hand. Also, another thing about that is you would need a lot more force than that. A slow pull like that would not achieve that. And lastly, I'm going to bring this up because I noticed it rewatching the second Saw movie. Is this trap is actually in the second Saw movie on a board in the background when of Jigsaw's hideout while they're talking.
Oh,
but
yeah.
But it is designed a whole lot better. If you pause it and you actually look at the design of it, it's a totally different design. The premise is the same, but the design comes off very differently. Because Jigsaw main thing was he made it winnable. The traps were not meant to kill. They were meant to redeem from transgressions. And that's what we see in later movies, the downfall of Amanda and the cop. They made traps. They made traps that were not winnable. They were just punishments to murder people. John Kramer, his traps were to redeem the individual, to put them to a test for redemption. So that is one of the biggest gripes I have. Now, as Alexa said, it's not a memorable movie. And Chris Rock was the best part of it, and that's why this was a pet project for him. He's not going to write himself to look bad in this movie, and he's going to make sure that he gives the best performance out of this. The quote-unquote twist was so obvious, you've seen it coming from a mile away if you was actually paying attention. So this movie was just bland. I mean, there was no real, like, oh my God, did you see that? Or, this trap was just so amazing. And, I like how they like the craft of that. It was just, it was, and as I said as in our group chat, it was a movie. And this comes after. Yeah, and this comes after me watching 2 Zombies movies that me and Mark's reviewing this Friday. And as I stated, Zombies 1, I would put above this movie. And Mark, once you watch it, you can debate that.
Looking forward to it.
No, I think we all agreed in the chat that we saw the twist coming a mile away. In fact, I remember watching it thinking, because the twist is revealed that when you realize that what we think is the partner has been killed, but we don't see the trap, we don't hear the tape, and we don't see the recap like we had with Fitch. And at first I was actually thinking, oh, they're actually giving us less is more. That's great. And then it sort of dawned on me, wait, oh shit, there's a reason they're giving us less is more. Damn it.
Yeah, and that was the problem.
They didn't even do the kind of what I thought could have been the interesting thing. Because they find that bit of his skin that has the same tattoos that he has. You'd think at least to try and sell his commitment to the bit, he would have cut his own skin off.
That actually brings up a good point. He says that he freshly tattooed the name on the bum before he cut his arm off. I've been around I don't actually have tattoos, but I have friends who are tattoo artists. I'm like 90% sure that either A, if you tattooed a dead bum's arm, it wouldn't have healed fast enough, and B, unless he got that Charlie tattoo right before he started working with Chris Rock's character, that they would have been able to tell, wait, this is a fresh tattoo, that the other one, has been on his arm for a while.
100%.
And the fact that the tattoo would have been done, it still would look fresh. The tattoo that you see is kind of a weather tattoo. That's why if they would have went with, Robert's observation, if they would have went with he cut it off and sent it in, because you send it to a police station. They have this thing called forensics that can actually tell if that's the actual person. Who would have guessed that? A cop using forensics. It's mind-blowing, these things. I'm pretty sure this could have landed on Law & Order SVU, and we could have got everything wrapped up in an hour with Ice-T.
I agree with you, Robert. If they had cut to a scene with him, or when he was discussing what he did, and they showed him actually cutting the skin off of his own arm, I probably would have given this film a few more points.
Again, it's a little thing, but at least it'd be something. This movie feels like it was written by people whose only experience, whose only research into law enforcement was watching a lot of Law and Order. Not terribly great. Mark, where'd you land on this? What do you want to say?
I'm a good, bad, and ugly to keep this short. I mean, when it's a kind of generic murder mystery, amidst, the Gotham Police Department where everyone is corrupt, I didn't mind it. Again, I kind of said the same thing about Jigsaw. When we're doing cop stuff, I actually kind of enjoy the movie because I enjoy that genre. When it gets to the traps, I'm somewhere between I don't really want to look at this and I'm bored. But I know it's a part of the movie, so I kind of accept it. It's like kind of like your comment about, the comic industry. You accept once you decide you're going to you're going to buy the product, you've accepted the limits and practices of the medium, and in that case, I buy that argument. I went to a Saw. You go to a Saw movie, expect to see torture porn. Okay, so I'm not going to complain about that. It just doesn't keep my interest. Maybe, and I think back to the first Saw movie when the traps were a little bit more elaborate and creative, and the trap itself was a reflection of whatever sin the person committed. I at least thought that was creative. Here, they try. He explains it. There's a lot of exposition dumping.
Is there.
You pulled the trigger on this guy and shot an innocent man, so I'm going to pull your fingers off. Ugh, okay. That's kind of a child's reaction to things. Like, and I said this about another recent movie that we talked about, where it was like, I saw a thing in a different movie, and then I tried to do it. And Zack Snyder. We were talking about Justice League. And it's like, you see someone else do it better, and you think you can do it too because it looks easy, and you don't understand what it is you're watching, and that comes out in the thing that you made. Kind of the same thing here. I think Chris Rock looks at the Saw franchise and thinks he gets it and doesn't really, and that's the most disappointing thing about Spiral to me. I talked before about, so if the movie is about police corruption and a revenge ploy against said police corruption because it personally affected one of the characters, that's a fine starting point. It's not a well-written movie, and it doesn't do that well. It's very ham-fisted. It's very generic. I think in 2021, if you want to make a movie about police corruption, you have to do it better or don't do it at all. You can't. To me, this was a diner steak. Yeah, it tastes like a steak and it looks like a steak, but it's not very good quality. It's the kind of thing you eat when you're after work at 3:00 in the morning, or you're hungover or something, and you're eating it with just a plain diner steak with a cup of coffee. And that's the thing. They missed an opportunity to editorialize about Black Lives Matter and police corruption, the inherent issues with policing in the 21st century. And the struggles you have to try to rehabilitate it and change it and reform it. It's as if they started off with that on a list of things they wanted to deal with this film, and we're like, okay, but people are not really coming to see that; they're coming to see torture porn. So just kind of point at it from about 100 yards away, but don't actually deal with anything. Like,
I was going to say, that was something that caught me off guard, too, was that I felt that it was very, unfortunately, failed in the show, don't tell concept of the corrupt cops. Mm-hmm. They kept saying, again, maybe I'm not familiar enough with the genre, but the fact that he turns in a dirty cop gets him essentially blacklisted from the precinct, and I'm sitting there going, okay, I have family members who are cops, and I would think that they actually would want dirty cops flushed out. Why are they upset that he turned in a dirty cop unless they're all dirty cops?
Well, there's a couple of things there that again kind of took me out of the entire argument. One is the timeline. Apparently he turned that guy in 12 years ago. Most of the people that, like the older grizzled guys at the time who would have also been dirty, would have been forced into retirement by 12 years later.
Yeah, they're not all hanging around. But I want to dovetail off of that into this point. So this was Batman. So this is The Dark Knight Rises, right? The plot of The Dark Knight Rises was in light of everything that happened in The Dark Knight. They wrote this law. It allowed the police kind of carte blanche to clean up the streets, and they did. But they did so in the most brutally fascist way possible, causing Bane to take revenge and lock the cops in the sewer. Here, you kind of a similar thing with Samuel Jackson, where he basically was like, "We're I can't remember what the specific thing is, like Article 9 or something like that."
Title 8.
Under Title 8. The police just ran roughshod,
which they don't even go into. They just throw it out there like it's supposed to mean something.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is you just kind of stole my point, which is fine. I'm glad you saw it too. Is my point. Like, you need to show that. You need to show, like, because here's the thing: they shot a witness that was going to testify, and one guy, because Chris Rock is a rat, won't come for backup, which ends with Chris Rock getting shot. And that's it. That's all the corruption you see, from what I remember. Maybe there might have been a third thing, but it's not coming to me right this second.
That's kind of it.
Okay. So, you don't see...
Well, you do see the one cop shoot the guy just for flipping him off and ostensibly got away with,
Yeah, okay.
nothing.
Tell me I'm not the only one who was, going, about the fact that he got away with that. I mean...
Yeah, there's no way.
With dash cam footage.
With dash cam footage.
Yes.
Like, no, there's no way that guy is not in jail. No, I mean, you can have a wider discussion about, years ago, how much latitude was given to police officers in the use of deadly force. There's no way in the last 20 years that would have gone the way it did.
So, if you're going to have Samuel L. Jackson be like, I covered for a lot of dirty cops because... See, here's the thing. What do you mean by dirty cop? That's another thing the film never deals with. Is it they used excessive force, and again, in a Dark Knight Rises kind of, The Wire after the one cop gets punched by Bodhi kind of a way, where it's like, if X, actually even a better example from The Wire, season 3, when Bunny says, move the mid-level drug dealers into Amsterdam, and the ones that don't go, short of killing them, beat the living shit out of these people. And and so most go, but the ones that resist, there's like an entire sequence of them like ramming their heads into the paddy wagon. One of the drug dealers says something to the effect of like, "This is ridiculous," and then they spray the entire paddy wagon. And he goes, "No, that was ridiculous." Stuff like that. Like, you need to see those things. You need, So, but was it that? Was it just, brutal force in order to clean up a street that had fallen into hell? Or is it more Gotham, where everyone's being paid off by the mob, and you're just kind of allowing Sin City to happen? Which one was it? Nobody knows. Nobody explains these things. All you get is one guy is going to testify against the cops, and he is shot. And that causes child of said victim to one day grow up and take revenge on the police department. That is really weak and not very good writing. I have to disagree politely, respectfully, with Alexis and Jason. I don't think Chris Rock did a good job here. And there are parts of it...
It's okay to be wrong.
Thanks, Jay. Want me to do another impression of you? No, it's fine. So, I think when he's having exchanges with other characters, it's actually not bad. Like, I don't think Chris Rock is in general, a bad actor. I think he's stronger in certain genres than he is in others, and I don't think this genre lends itself to his strengths. When he's having sort of passionate dialogue exchanges about the nature of policing and corruption and and how it's affected him, he's kind of okay. When he's kind of doing a training day,
I actually liked that.
Yeah.
Partially because it brings to light a few things that people forget. When he's talking with his partner and he goes, well, when you become a cop, you kind of guarantee you're going to die alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was about to say when they're having the
divorce rate, highest rate of suicide, highest rate of domestic violence issues, highest rate of alcoholism, like just all these problems that come about from this. Like,
So that was actually a really good speech.
Yeah, when he's having those training day sequences with his partner and they're just kind of talking in the car, I thought those were good.
Give a woman 600 Tuesdays, they're not worth 3 Saturday nights, right?
Where I have the problem with it, and it sort of took me out of the film and made me realize, like, ooh, this is not for Chris Rock. So Chris Rock has these scenes where part of the movie, what they're trying to tell you with the narrative, is that the increasing violence and murder, and the closeness of it is starting to drive Chris Rock crazy. It's not well done. It's not well acted, and all you get from Chris Rock is him slowly walking away from murder scenes looking like he has to take a shit real bad. Another actor could have done that better and kept me engrossed in the movie. Every time Chris Rock did it, I was like, "Oh my god, someone get him a porta potty. He's gonna poop." And he's gonna puke. He's gonna puke.
Vince.
He does it like half a dozen times to where I'm like, ugh, I can't believe they use these takes. This is terrible. So maybe I'm being a little overly critical of Chris Rock because on the one hand he has some really good dialogue exchanges. On the other hand, his reactions to the grisly murders are so bad it was comical. So not great. That's kind of it. My biggest points on this were it missed the opportunity to say something about a genre that it's pointing to but not really commenting on. The traps are ham-fisted and boring.
Even like, most of them defy science. I gotta say, we talked about the whole finger thing. I also think, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think you could rip your tongue out by dropping like that.
It kind of depends on.
Would help.
It kind of depends on how the tongue is secured. Like, what kills that scene for me is that the tongue looks like it's pierced. In which case, you're just gonna go from the piercing straight out, and you're gonna get a split tongue rather than a removed tongue.
Okay, so that brings me to my last point, and then I'll concede the floor, and you guys can do whatever. So every time the setup to the traps were really bad, in the sense that it kind of reminded me of Eddie Izzard's Cake or Death bit. He's talking about the Church of England, and he was like. And he's like, all right, you can either have cake or we'll kill you. He's like, oh, well, I'll have the cake, please. Like, all right, Church of England, cake or death. And then at one point, and this is the more relative to...
I'll take cake, please. No, death. Oh.
At one point, the guy's like, cake, please. He's like, well, we've run out of cake. Okay, so my choices are or death? That's what reminded me of these trap setups. So it's... The first guy, jump off the chair, cut your tongue out, or get hit by the train. Well, it didn't really matter what he did. He got hit by the train anyway. Like, the lesson not learned. He just dies.
In theory, if he does it quickly, he can get off the tracks.
It's not done well, and that's the problem. It's no matter, and because it's the same thing every single time that this happens. I'll skip to the last one because that's the one that annoyed me the most. Because I actually like the trap. I like the idea of the glass being, shot out of the machine and him, being, cut a million times, death by 1,000 cuts. The problem is the setup is he murdered somebody in cold blood. You can either save him or leave him to die, and Chris Rock tries to do the heroic thing that, despite the fact that he's a piece of shit, he still tries to save him, and it doesn't matter because he dies anyway. Like, that's the thing. If you present a situation in which there's no way to win, all the dramatic tension just drains away. You're just now waiting for the guy to die. And it happened in every single one of these, including the end, where it's like, well, if you shoot the target, you'll save your dad. But it didn't matter because he set up the trap to when the SWAT team comes in, he's going to get hoisted with a gun in his hand and they're going to kill him anyway. And it's like, what was the point of any of this then? It's just a badly written movie where nothing elevates it. Not the themes, not the performances, not the special effects. There's nothing that makes up for the deficits anywhere else. It's just kind of all bad. Robert?
I don't disagree with any of that. If you want an example, I think, of how poorly constructed this movie is, Chris Rock at one point tells his partner he's going through a divorce, which is worse than being divorced. It's like getting chemo, which I'm sure got a chuckle out of you, Mark.
It did.
Having been both through a divorce and chemo.
The divorce was the easy one. The chemo, not so much.
Yeah, I imagine. This is brought up again a couple of scenes later, and then when he goes to see the wife of one of the dead cops that was a friend of his wife that he's going through a divorce with is there.
And they don't follow up on it.
Yeah,
and
there's
it goes
nothing.
absolutely nowhere.
There's nothing to it. There's no reason for it to be there. All you needed was one of those scenes. His bit where he says, "No, I'm going through a divorce, which is worse." Fine. Or he shows up and his soon-to-be ex-wife is there, and they have their tense little exchange, and that tells you everything you need to know.
I would have been okay with the scene of him seeing his wife at the widow's house if that was actually building up to something else. I guess I kind of liked it for a bit of character development, showing that not only was he good friends with the cop, but their wives were good friends. I thought they gave a little bit character to how well these guys know each other. But again, you're right. It's like, well, then she doesn't show up again, and he doesn't bring up the divorce again for the rest of the movie. So it does feel a little shoehorned.
Yeah, there's so much stuff that needed proper streamlining and editing. There's also, I think, a fundamental misunderstanding about what makes the good versions of the good entries into this franchise work. It's not the investigation, which that doesn't mean that part should be completely ignored or neglected. It's present in, it's also present in all of the good entries and is a nice addition to the story. What makes the whole darn thing work is the character interactions. And when those fail, the movies fail, and they fail here. My favorite movie in the entire franchise, this might sound really weird. There's a bit in the first Saw movie when when Cary Elwes' character thinks his family is being killed. And the cell phone that they've been using to communicate is on the ground, and it's literally just like fingertips away from him being able to reach it. As it's ringing, and and the look of just anguish on his face as he is just trying to reach this stupid cell phone. It's not the high watermark for the franchise, but it's one of them. And I tend to think very poorly on any of the entries into this franchise that don't have something at least loosely comparable. You need a moment, at least one, that is almost divorced from the investigation and the violence and is just the essence of humanity in this moment. And we don't get anything like that here, to the point where the ending is a very bad homage to the original Saw, and that actually made me angry. Like, that entire final bit's like, hey, here's some things from a much better movie that we can reference.
My problem with the end was the whole dialogue that he's having with Chris Rock. He's in the background wiring everything up, and Chris Rock is just standing there, never turns around, never looks, doesn't even acknowledge that he's back there doing his little mustache twirly, rigging the door.
Yeah.
And then they, like you said, they try to do the homage to the original with the ending, where he goes down the service elevator and he looks at Chris Rock and just puts his finger over his lips, because that's what Chris Rock done when his dad got killed.
It doesn't make any sense. Chris Rock, at that moment, Chris Rock is telling another witness to be quiet because this guy just killed a witness, so let's not get you shot as well, yeah?
And it's just like, it's really disconjointed. I mean, that the movie had no really good flow. It's like the traps were, like Mark pointed out, okay, you shot somebody, we're going to rip your fingers off. No, that's... I mean, the only thing that I did like about this is the subtle kind of jab at cops by using the pig puppet and the pig imagery. I thought that was a nice little dig that kind of put in there. I mean, and that was the thing that I found found, somewhat enjoyable. And the fact that, you see Samuel L. Jackson it's nighttime, he disappears into this building, and he's gone for like 45 minutes, and you're like, okay, we know what's going to happen here. It's kind of... I was in classic Mark fashion. I was waiting for Keenan Ivory Wayans to pop up in the corner and say message.
Love you, Jason.
All right. So anything else that we didn't touch on that you guys might want to talk about? Last thing, we're going to go around the horn real fast. Final thoughts, 50 words or less, preferably less. Jason, start with you.
Can we just talk about how the original Saw and just forget this even exists?
That is one of my daily goals. Alexis?
Okay.
I stand by what I said. This movie is not as bad as the most recent Saw films, but it's boring. It's in the middle for me because while I can watch it again, but I'm not going to remember it. But it's nowhere near as good as the first three.
Mark?
I would like to talk about the music. If you enjoyed the music as much as I did, and maybe even the music's the best part of this movie, don't you think? Don't answer that. You can check...
For the record, no, that crappy remix of the original Hello Zepp that they that they put rap over. No, I don't care for it. The original soundtrack is a thing of beauty, which you can also find on Amazon Music.
Yes, but you can find the soundtrack to Spiral from the Book of Saw by 21 Savage on AmazonMusic.com. And if you're like, I don't know if I want to spend the money, well, why don't you click on our link at getamazonmusic.com/W2Mnetwork to get yourself a free 30 days of AmazonMusic.com, and then you can stream it for free. There's a song on here by Jason Teasley's favorite musical artist, Young Nudie, called You Ain't Hard. And Jason has been found dancing around the house with no pants on. And he says, this is how I dance when I'm not wearing any pants, and I'm not going to wear no pants, to Young Nudie's You Ain't Hard, which he heard using AmazonMusic.com. Isn't that right, Jason?
I just thought that's what my wife said.
Well said. So go ahead, click on our link in the description, get AmazonMusic.com/W2Mnetwork. And that is really all I have to say about this movie.
All right, as Mark said, check out our link to Amazon Music. Free 30 days. It's free. You lose nothing. Give it a try. Let them know we sent you. Helps us all out. I don't have a whole lot. I think we said it all. It's a lot of uninspired traps. Oh, last thing, because I did want to bring this up specifically. Going from the wonderful voice of Tobin Bell, who's between both what he can do with his own voice naturally and what they were able to do with some new audio tricks, makes the Jigsaw Killer's tape recordings, in at least in every instance where that is used, it sends shivers down your spine. Going from that to this piss-poor text-to-speech function that was downloaded probably illegally was just a huge letdown. It's a huge letdown to go from Tobin Bell's I want to play a game to, hello, I would like to play a game. Ugh.
I would have given it points if they had just dubbed in the computer from War Games. Shall we play a game?
Yeah, sure. Anyway, with that, Mark.
And speaking of disappointing, here comes the money. Nope. There we go.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar.
On the good news is that it was the #1 movie of the weekend. The bad news is that it really underperformed. On a budget of $20 million, as of this recording, it has earned $12.7 million. The weekend looks like this. For the weekend of May 14th through the 16th, Spiral debuted at #1, Wrath of Man fell to #2, Those Who Wish Me Dead, which I think Robert would have preferred if we had reviewed instead of this.
Well, certainly instead of Woman in the Window.
Debuted at number 3, and they're calling it, a flop and underperforming and everything. But remember, this is a new movie with no pre-established IP, split between HBO Max and traditional theater, on a weekend that a movie solely in theaters from an established IP debuted. I mean, you can't beat up on it too much.
No, I don't. And frankly, I think given its split release on HBO Max, it probably overperformed in terms of what it did in the theaters, quite honestly.
Demon Slayer was number 4. Raya and the Last Dragon, number 5. Godzilla vs. Kong fell from 4 to 6. Mortal Kombat plummeted from 3 to 7. Finding You debuted at number 8. Profile, number 9. Falling from 7 to 10. You're Here Today. You're Gone Tomorrow. Here Today fell from 7 to 10. Nobody fell from 8 to 11. The Unholy, 9 to 12. Alexis's favorite movie of this year, Don't At Her. Tom and Jerry fell from 10 to 13.
You're a dick.
I am a dick. Welcome to the show. Separation fell from 6 to 14. Top Gun re-release debuted at number 15 and made over $200,000 from the 153 screens that it was on. Yes, sir.
You finally saw Top Gun for the first time.
I finally saw Top Gun for the first time, for the last time.
I don't know why you thought that was an action movie.
because Kenny Loggins, Highway to a Danger Zone. I thought we were flying into a danger zone. Fast.
Well, the danger zone of love, maybe.
Oh my God. So I'll say this on here now, but you guys all know this line because I did it in the chat. They played Berlin or clips from Berlin so many times throughout Top Gun, it rivaled Wonder Woman's theme from Justice League. I was ready to throw shit at the screen. Like, I normally don't play with my phone during the movie, but I was really bored midway through Top Gun. So
Did
I
it
sent
take your breath away?
Shut the fuck up. I'll take your breath away and leave you on the metro.
Aw.
Don't you, Mark? You don't want to.
Boys.
Did you lose that loving feeling?
You were saying, Robert?
Goodness gracious, great balls of fire.
All right. So
The greatest beach volleyball game of all time.
that was so gay, but I couldn't tell anyone.
Are you taking
It is. It is a little homoerotic.
Oh my
Mark,
God.
I get why you might somewhat dismiss Pat's claims of that being a very homoerotic movie. But when I tell you, and I ask the question, why can the premier naval pilot training academy in the entire country, this country that is the greatest military power on the freaking planet, not afford full-size towels?
Because we need a tasteful shot of Tom Cruise's buttocks.
Not just him. Half of those scenes have someone in the back splayed out, just airing it all out.
Top Gun, come for the jets, stay for the cock. And listen, I texted my wife in the middle of Top Gun. I was like, boy, am I glad I didn't bring my children to this, because there ain't enough flying in that movie to offset the amount of, what's her face's, I can't remember the lead woman's name now. Kelly McGinnis. Like, the extreme close-ups of her face, at one point I was like, why don't you just take the camera and shove it down her throat? My God.
This was directed by, not Ridley Scott, his brother, right?
Yeah, Scott Pilgrim.
No.
I
I can't remember his brother's name. It's bothering me because he committed suicide.
It's just like Goose. But anyway, it's come for the jets, stay for the thrusters.
My favorite analysis of Top Gun actually comes from. You guys ever go to or watch cartoons from Angry Alien?
I do not know what that is.
It was a website that did flash animation of popular movies done in 30 seconds by bunnies.
Oh, I loved that. That I remember. I loved that. Their recreation of Jaws is the best thing.
Well, I love their recreation of Top Gun, in which they have to point out that every scene with the bunnies, they're dripping with sweat.
Yep.
Like every scene, they're just covered in sweat. It's just like, yep, pretty much. No matter what scene it was, somebody was like, okay, Tom Cruise is coming to set. Get the mister.
The opening sequence of Top Gun is really fun and exciting. Everything from Goose dying on is really fun and exciting. The middle part, where they have the most like hackneyed, ridiculous fucking love story between Kelly McGillis and Tom Cruise, I was like, glad I didn't bring my kids to this, because they would have both like beat me up in the parking lot after.
Your daughter would have never forgiven you for taking her to a movie with what passed for a sex scene in whenever year that movie was released.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. So dodged a bullet there,
dude. If you gotta run these things by me, man. I could have saved you even the loose heart attack of potentially doing that.
All right, so the Croods dropped from 14 to 16. And by the way, if this was an enticing conversation, you're like, you know what, I'd really like to hear him talk more about the cocks in Top Gun. That's coming later this year. One more time. That's coming later this year. There we go. Thank you. Alexis, you want to get in on the purring? There it is.
Meow.
Remind me. There certainly are a lot of scared cats around here. We will
just freak out my cat. Actually, he's looking at me funny.
Cat's like, don't start none, there won't be none, motherfucker.
My cat owned territory, and my cat was the warlord of this block for like years. Fights every other night. He'd come back, always a little bit torn up, but the other cat was always worse off.
We will be doing an on trial for Top Gun when Top Gun Maverick comes out in November. Moving on. The Croods dropped from 14 to 16. 4 Good Days, 11 to 17, which I really want to see. The Girl Who Believes in Miracles, 16 to 18. Waterman, 13 to 19. And rounding out the top 20 is The Courier, which dropped from 19 to 20. The Jinn debuted at number 21. The Killing of Two Lovers debuted at number 23. Riders of Justice, 28. Ghostmaster debuted at number 36. La Piscine, 37. And There Is No Evil, There Is Only Zool, debuted at number 40 for the weekend. Where we stand worldwide, not a whole lot of change here. It's still Hi Mom, Detective Chinatown, and Godzilla vs. Kong, which seems to have plateaued at 427 million worldwide. A Writer's Odyssey, Impasse, Sister, My Love. Tom and Jerry with 111 million worldwide at number 8, which beat Raya and the Last Dragon. Now, this is not going to turn into why, oh, why did Minions beat Inside Out? One, I don't want to get yelled at again. Two, Raya and the Last Dragon is not Inside Out, so I don't, I just look at that and I go, okay, so Tom and Jerry, which you did not have to pay extra for if you watched it on HBO, has beaten Disney's pristine animated feature of the spring that you had to pay $30 extra if you wanted to watch it at home or go to the theater and Raya and the Last Dragon. That's fucking embarrassing for Disney. And Endgame rounds out the top 10 at 91 million worldwide. Mortal Kombat seems to be plateauing around 76 million at number 12 for the year. And Wrath of Man currently at 56 million at number 16. And that's about it. For the time being, not a whole lot else to report here. This weekend, there's not a whole lot coming out. Everything is a limited release except for that's the 20th. So for the 21st, it's all limited releases, which means that Spiral has another opportunity to be the number one movie of the weekend. I'd be surprised if something else ends up claiming that top spot, only because there's no other competition. But you never know. We didn't think Demon Slayer would, but maybe some weird picture that we weren't thinking about ended up claiming the top spot because everyone who saw Spirals, anyone who was going to see Spirals saw it already. The big competitors this weekend are all streaming. You have Army of the Dead from Zack Snyder on Netflix.
We'll be reviewing next week.
Yep. We'll be reviewing it the same day when it comes out.
Oh yeah,
on Friday.
Busy Friday.
Yeah, that's really it. As a matter of fact, if you want to go see Army of the Dead, it's actually in select theaters, and then it debuts on Netflix this Friday. I don't think there's any other big releases on streaming this Friday. So,
hold on, there is a huge release this Friday on.
Oh
on
God,
streaming.
don't.
Oh yeah, you're right. Go ahead, Jason.
Aquarium of the Dead, which means you will be partaking in the third part of our Zombies trilogy that we're reviewing Friday night.
That's right. Yeah, I got a busy Friday ahead of me. Alexis and I are reviewing a MODOK book from the 2015-16 Secret Wars era, MODOK Assassin, and that's to coincide with the release of MODOK on Hulu. Then Robert and I are reviewing Army of the Dead. Then I'm taking my kids to go see Fast and Furious. We're working our way through the Fast and Furious franchise all the way up to F9 when that comes out. And then, yes...
Wait. Which one are you up to?
We just did Tokyo Drift, so this next one is number 4.
So, Fast and Furious.
Correct.
Just show them the first one again. That's all that movie is.
Is this the one where they're dragging the safe through Miami?
First of all,
5?
they dragged the safe through Rio de
5.
Janeiro, and that's 5.
Oh, damn it. Okay.
I don't even like these movies. These are right up your alley. How do I know more about these than you?
I'm old and, in pain a lot of times, so I don't remember the finer details of the Fast and the fucking Furious movie, you nerd.
Of course not, because they're stupid movies that no one should like. Yet there you are.
Okay, I got a question.
Yes, Jason.
Fast and Furious franchise versus Saw franchise. Which one gets more ridiculous as it goes?
Oh, that's easy. Fast and the Furious. You and I know that.
Dude,
yes.
There is nothing in the Saw franchise as ridiculous as, first of all, them dragging
Hobbs
a
and
safe.
Shaw?
No. Sure, Hobbs, sure. Them dragging a safe through the streets of Rio with a degree of control.
Physics doesn't work in Rio.
The entire smuggling operation of the drug lord in Fast and Furious, who's supposed to have moved more coke than Pablo Escobar, which is a comical sentiment to anyone who knows anything about that man's criminal reign of terror.
Here's the real question, because Saw franchise versus Fast and the Furious is not comparable. In terms of more ridiculous as it went along and less physics as it went along, the real comparable franchises are Fast and the Furious and Pirates of the Caribbean.
No, those are not comparable.
Yeah, one's Disney, and Disney owns everything. So good luck, Mark. You're going to be missing soon.
And believe it or not, most of the Pirates of the Caribbean stuff is more or less feasible. If you want an appropriate comparison, I think we probably have to do Fast and the Furious or Transformers.
Fair enough. All right. So Jason and I will be reviewing the Zombies trilogy, Zombies 1 and 2, and then Aquarium of the Dead, which is the third part of the Zombies trilogy. All right, that's really it for the money, so let's go ahead and move to the critical review.
Oh, why do you do this to me?
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Your critical review is brought to you by Grammarly, who I wish some of these writers would use, and maybe they'll write better reviews. Grammarly's AI
brother.
Grammarly's AI-powered products help people communicate more effectively. Grammarly helps you write mistake-free on Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and nearly anywhere else you write on the web. Grammarly corrects hundreds of grammar, punctuation, and spelling mistakes while also catching contextual errors and improving your vocabulary and suggesting style improvements. To download Grammarly today, go to getgrammarly.com/W2Mnetwork. Again, that's getgrammarly.com/W2Mnetwork to download Grammarly for free.
You listen to us, we give you links to free stuff that will probably improve the quality of your life a little bit. We'll help you write better on the internet, and we will provide you access to a vast library of music, all for free if you just let them know we sent you. It helps us out, it helps you out. There's no downside.
Eddie Harrison of FilmAuthority.com. He is the film authority, Robert Winfree. Don't you understand?
I got your authority right here. Come and get it.
It's in his shorts. If you skip the gore... Sorry, I had to take a moment to roll my eyes at that. If you skip the gore, the police procedural elements actually work well. No, they don't. With Rock and unfamiliar presence and several effective plot twists, they're not effective, that I certainly didn't see coming because you're blind, deaf, and dumb. Go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, you're an idiot. Like, how do you think this is a good police procedural? Like, in all sincerity, how low is your bar for that? How little have you experienced this particular genre?
So, has anyone wondered what happened to Caillou after his show went off the air? He apparently grew up and became a movie reviewer. Movie critic. Caillou,
Sure. I mean, went from one obnoxious thing to the other. Why not?
Caillou Pettis of Awards Watch. Chris Rock, Darren Lil Boosman, and the rest of the creative team have heard the pleas from critics and audiences around the world and have delivered one hell of a thrill ride.
No, they didn't.
Just factually inaccurate, sir.
Because nothing about this movie was thrilling.
The nap I took was.
This person does not understand words or how they work or that they have meaning.
I think the most thrilling part of the movie was the opening with the cop chasing the bag thief and then realizing he went down the sewer.
Yeah, and then the fireworks go off right behind him. Best scare of the whole stupid thing, too.
I thought it was very thrilling when the credits rolled.
I wish I could have felt that, but then they had that stupid song playing, so I couldn't.
I know I felt a thrill when Goose and Maverick were playing volleyball. Wait, that's a different movie.
Is it? Is it, though? Aren't all movies really Top Gun?
That's what this film needed. And, like, if they could have just cut from Chris Rock or the Traps to, like, you know, homoerotic volleyball, it would have made the picture so much better.
Yeah, it could have ended with him and Chris Rock playing volleyball, trying to figure out where to find the next corrupt cop.
Yeah, you know what? I like where you're going with this.
All while hanging with the boys plays in the background.
Hell yeah! Like, can you? Okay,
we got to get a remix.
One of
life's
simple,
by Pitbull.
One of life's simple joys is the boys, though, Jason.
So imagine, if you will, in between the scenes of traps and gore, when Chris Rock is trying to work out the details of this murder mystery, if instead of just having a straight dialogue scene, he's doing it shirtless, playing volleyball against Tom Cruise.
Yeah, so it would go from being a straight dialogue scene to a gay dialogue scene.
Or,
so
better
much better
yet, take them out of the car and take that scene and put it on a beach volleyball game. And they have that entire conversation they had in the car during a beach volleyball game.
Just with the beach volleyball game in the background?
Yeah.
Perfect.
No, like in between points they was having the conversation.
Chris Rock whines about his soon-to-be ex-wife as he serves.
Perfect. I don't know. Hollywood, we are here to script doctor your movies. I'm just saying.
You have no idea. Like, there's not a Hollywood intern that listened to us and thought that was a good idea, but boy, are there some parody film companies, and I use film loosely, that suddenly have the best idea ever.
Spiral is not... Emma Simmons of The List. Spiral is not quite up there with 2004 original, and of course it ain't pretty, but if you've got the stomach for it, then please go right ahead.
No.
Okay?
What a non-review.
Yeah, I was like, if you like movies, this one had... if you like moving pictures, this had pictures that moved. You can't see it, but I just did the crusty face.
Yeah.
But I've always been terrible.
Maybe I missed the phonies, but just the phonies.
Kevin A. Ranson of MovieCrypt.com. The 90-minute runtime keeps tension ramped up between clue reveals and trap sequences.
I wish it did.
Leaves little time to care about plot-related father-son relationships or offer up would-be victims as anything more than meat to be wasted. Okay, but that's not good, you asshole.
Wait, that's a fresh review?
Yeah, that was 3. Yeah, he gave it 3 out of 4 stars. So essentially, he just said, "Listen, this movie moves so quickly, we don't have time to establish characters or relationships or arcs, and that's good." What?
I don't know. I got nothing. I got nothing for that. That logic is so ridiculous. I got nothing.
This one comes from Robert's favorite movie review site, We Have a Hulk. Nicola Austin, a gripping and often compelling entry into the Saw franchise, rooted much more in police procedural than twisted horror of previous installments. Didn't Jigsaw...
These morons!
I was like, didn't Jigsaw also root itself in police procedural as much as one could for these movies?
There's always the police investigation going on in these movies. Always. It's... This just proves you haven't seen any of the previous movies, other than you know them by reputation, not by what they actually produced.
Also proves that none of them have actually seen good police movies.
That too.
Or The Wire.
You've already read The Wire too many times, okay, Mark? If you
Just
put
why,
the
Mark?
part
Why?
out.
All right, let me. Can I do it again? Can I reset and start that one over again?
All right.
Go ahead, cue me up, Robert.
Like, these people have never seen either any of the other Saw movies or a decent police procedural.
Or have they seen Homicide: Life on the Street? Nailed it.
Yeah, all right, fair enough.
Kate
Feel
Sanchez.
good about yourself for that one.
I fucking do. Kate Sanchez. But why, though? A geek community. Spiral from the Book of Saw is a return to form from the series.
Oh, get bent!
She's
But
kind of...
again, unless you want to actually say that it's better than the last 4 Saw movies, which I agree with, but it's not a full return to form. Just because it's less painful doesn't mean that it's good.
Look, a lot of us horror fans are like the dog that's been kicked a few too many times. Maybe just the fact that instead of being kicked in the face, we just kind of get spit on. We take that as good. It's not good. I'm here to tell you all of that.
Jordy Sirkin of Jordy Reviews It. Good for you, Jordy. It exudes a very neo-noir detective thriller feel.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, shit!
Hey, does anyone remember when Alexis first came on this show and she wasn't this bitter and angry? Because I do, and I love it.
Yeah, sorry, Mark. You corrupted my soul.
Woo!
Only partially Mark. Partially, it's not just Mark. It's more that Mark gleefully pulls back the curtain on the seedy underbelly of reality that we all desperately try to avoid and pretend doesn't exist. And he makes us stare into that particular abyss until it stares back and we emerge changed forever.
Kind of like on Bird Box when he just holds her eyes open. That's what Mark does to us.
Yeah, seriously, with that comment, neo-noir... Okay, first of all, fuck you, dude. Secondly, Chinatown for the first time to Andre. You want to talk about good noir. And it's like, no, you do not compare what we just saw to noir. No, no, no.
This is not a person who understands the difference. First of all, this is not a person who understands the difference between a noir story and a hard-boiled detective story. There is a fundamental difference. This is not a person who has ever seen probably the best horror, the 2 best horror detective stories of all time. One of which I understand why people avoid.
And those are?
Well, my opinion, probably the best is actually a Hellraiser movie. It's Hellraiser 5, I believe, Inferno.
Yeah. Oh my god. Thank you. Someone else who actually likes... You know that was actually directed by the guy who did the first Doctor Strange film?
Does not surprise me.
Yeah, no, Inferno was actually my favorite of the Hellraiser films. Which is ironic, because that film was originally written not to be a Hellraiser movie.
That is true of like every Hellraiser movie after 3.
Later this year, we'll be releasing both parts of the Hellraiser review you guys did as well.
That's also me and Sean Comer. We have a lot of fun.
All right. Well, aside from Inferno, which yes is one of the better Hellraiser sequels, what's the other horror detective film that you think is good? That sounded horrible, but you know what I mean.
No. I get what you mean. This is one of the ones that people tend to avoid, and again, I completely understand why. There's a Mickey Rourke movie called Angel Heart.
I really thought you were going to say Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs is not a detective story.
I mean, she's searching for a killer.
It has a mystery component, but especially if we're talking about, when I say detective story, those also tend to not be law enforcement stories. Those are much more the private eye or that kind of detective story.
Okay.
And for the record, yes, Silence of the Lambs is 42. It is the answer to everything.
Silence of the Lambs is more psychological horror than any element of noir, though.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't call it Silence noir, but I would think that Silence of the Lambs fits into a couple of different genres, and I would absolutely call it at the very least, a murder mystery detective story. She is an investigator actively investigating a serial killer on the loose.
The problem you run into there is that detective stories are usually, not exclusively, but usually, not law enforcement detectives.
I'm also going to throw this out, and honestly, this is an actual question, so if I'm 100% wrong, please correct me. But isn't a good murder mystery style like that you don't actually know who the murderer is?
That's usually part of it, yeah. You are searching for the killer along with...
I would say identity.
I guess I just look at it going, because we see Buffalo Bill and everything the whole way through, so part of me doesn't really count Silence of the Lambs as a mystery, because even though Clarice Starling is figuring it out, the audience already knows.
I mean, that's fair. I think I'm very caught up in the idea of she does not know who the killer is or how to find him, which is why she goes to Hannibal Lecter in the first place. We got to move this on. Luke Y. Thompson of Freak Sugar. Freak Sugar! At times, Rock feels like he's trying too hard to be tough, but he relishes playing with the dialogue, and his interplay with Mengele gives the story more character than usual.
Well, again,
I never got the...
I'm sorry, go ahead, Robert.
No, go ahead.
Our
points are not going to overlap.
Well, sorry, but again, didn't we agree that his little speeches in the car when he's talking to his partner are actually some of the better parts of the movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
At what point is he trying to act tough in this movie?
Kevin Carr, a fat guy at the movies. His is a much better reboot of Saw than you got with Jigsaw, and it sets the stage to do more and enrich the story. No, it fucking doesn't.
I might give you that this is better than Jigsaw. I've tried very hard to block that particular movie from my brain, so don't hold me to that. But
I kind of like Jigsaw.
Hey, I'll say this: at least Spiral didn't have to rely on horribly bad CGI.
Very true. This in no way sets to enrich the franchise. Sorry, buddy.
Abby Bernstein, Leonard Bernstein of Assignment X. For those who do not like or at least don't mind some message with their mayhem, the film does well by both those who want to contemplate its dilemmas and those who just want to plunge straight into the nightmare.
What's the message? Fuck the police?
Yeah, a couple of things here.
Coming straight from the underground.
One is that there's not actually a point of view here. It uses police corruption as a backdrop, but it doesn't actually explore it in any kind of meaningful way. Second, I'm not a guy... How do I say this without pissing people off?
Too late.
No, I haven't pissed anyone off yet. Not for this.
I'm sure you have.
Not for this. Yes, I'm sure I have annoyed people as a general rule.
Article 5 of why the shield doesn't belong to Captain America. Now, if you can see from my charts...
For the record, armbar. Third, horror movies frequently dabble in various kinds of social commentary. It's not new. It's not innovative. A couple of the best anything by George A. Romero is dripping with it.
True.
Sometimes and sometimes that works out okay, and sometimes it's kind of a giant pile of crap.
Yeah, I was going to say, sometimes you get Night of the Living Dead, and then sometimes you get Diary of the Dead.
Sometimes you get Dawn of the Dead with a discussion of consumerism, and sometimes you get Land of the Dead, which people desperately try to forget exists.
Jeffrey M.
Hang on, it's a mixed bag. So no one in the horror genre is averse on some grand level to having commentary take place in their movies. There is no commentary here. There is no point of view here. You are painfully mistaken in your analysis.
The point of view is cops are bad. Bad cops.
Sometimes you get Dawn of the Dead. Sometimes you get Aquarium of the Dead. Coming to you this Friday on the Radulich Broadcasting Network.
Well done.
Look,
Paul McGuire Grimes, Paul's trip to the movies. Spiral is engaging and packs a punch. It will no doubt elicit commentary given your stance on police corruption, gore, or Chris Rock's strong performance.
Yeah, it'll punch you right in the balls.
Cops are bad.
Sorry, this movie didn't even elicit great discussion of any of those topics from us, and we've been here for an hour.
Jeffrey M. Anderson of Common Sense Media. The expected gimmicky torture gore scenes in the Saw spinoff seem a little out of place in what's otherwise a decent, moody, intense police story. Oh, go fuck yourself. Intense, moody
it's
police
really
story.
not. I mean,
this isn't fucking Chinatown. Relax.
Which is also barely a police story.
hey, I love Chinatown.
I love the movie. Don't get me wrong. But that's a detective story about a former cop doing his thing. Either way, this is not any of those things. Pick whatever your better cop movie of choice happens to be.
All right,
Be that Serpico or whatever.
I'm going to read this last one, and I want to go ahead and say I'm looking at the wiki, and the running time is 93 minutes. Okay, this is important. It says it right here in the wiki, 93 minutes, which I would believe because I remember blocking out 2 hours to see this, and thinking, okay, I should get out at exactly 7, pick up my kids, and take them into the 7:15 Tokyo Drift, and I was like 45 minutes early. So yeah, it's a short movie, 93 minutes, right?
The 90 minutes in this case would include the credits.
Lupe Rodriguez Haas of Cinemovie.tv. At a runtime of 133 minutes. Ma'am! You can't even get that much right. Why are you... What the hell?
Who failed you in the educational system, Adam? Why did they then decide that you writing published work was a good idea?
He no math, no good.
At a runtime of 133 minutes, the action and deaths are relentless and gruesome. Ma'am, I don't think you saw this movie. Right?
This person just doesn't understand that there's 60 minutes in an hour.
Right out of the gate, a sadistic killing kicks off the endless deaths with no time to recover in between. It's not for the faint of heart. You didn't see this movie.
There's endless downtime.
There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 traps. I got that right? 5?
That 133 minutes, with
that would be
5
a
traps.
2-hour movie.
That'd be a 2-hour 15, almost 2:15.
Yeah.
With 5 traps. Let's see, was there 5? The train, the fingers, the butcher shop, the wax.
The butcher shop wasn't a trap.
Yeah, I'm not counting the butcher. Okay, the tongue, finger, the wax, the glass, and the
glass,
blood.
and
5.
So yeah, we get 5.
All right, I'm actually going to read one more. But in order for you to understand what this person wrote here, you have to understand that apparently, at least since 2012, there's been an acronym, and I guess this came from a movie of same, ACAB, All Cops Are Bastards. Which is an acronym used as a political slogan associated with the dissidents who are opposed to the police. It is typically written as a catchphrase in graffiti, tattoos, or other imagery in public places.
Real popular on Twitter.
Yeah. All right.
Because Twitter is the real world.
And apparently it was also a 2012 film directed by Stefano Sollima, starring a bunch of Italian people. All right.
I imagine the cast list reads a little bit like a flat tire.
Oscar Goff of Boston Hassel. Simply put, Spiral is a horror movie for the ACAB era.
It's really not. It's not really a...
He doesn't even give us a reason for the ACAB. I mean...
Yeah, like, they don't actually talk about, like, they endlessly pontificate about, well, things were corrupt and things got bad as crime escalated. Like, okay, what, I'm supposed to take your word for this?
Oh my god. I know I said I was going to be done, but this just gets worse.
Oh, shit.
Jenny Nulf, Austin Chronicle, top critic, Red Star, best of the best. She gets paid for this, okay?
She writes for the Austin Chronicle. There's nothing best about that.
Fine, she gets paid in barbecue. Listen. Keep Austin weird, everybody. Spiral returns to the roots of the franchise with its seven. What's in the fucking box? 7. Wait, no. Wrong movie. Spiral returns to the roots of the franchise with its 7 grungy aesthetic and grisly murders that nourish the cravings of extremity horror hounds.
You, madam, wildly misunderstand what makes the first couple of entries into this particular franchise work. Shame on you.
Oh my god. Joe Fryer of the Victoria Advocate, owing more to David Fincher. Ugh.
Oh.
Mark, you need to stop reading because you're going to give poor Robert a freaking embolism. Okay?
I'm having an aneurysm.
Mark is going to kill himself before he kills me with this one.
Owing more to David Fincher, ow, my brain, than James Wan, the film is at its peak in between the gory scenes we've come to expect since the inception of the franchise in 2004.
You people are just real bitchy that you had to watch a horror movie, aren't you?
Go apologize to James Wan, dude.
Yeah, James Wan is a darn good filmmaker, you 2-bit, sadly repressed, why won't anyone publish my novel, whiny little bitch.
I say James Wan actually is so he's been able to cross over genres. I think we all agreed that Aquaman wasn't terrible.
Now tell us how you really feel, Robert.
No, please don't. All right, so that brings us to the end of our...
James Wan directed one of the better, since we referenced this particular franchise a few dozen times already, he directed one of the better Fast and the Furious movies.
All right, so that's our review of Spiral from the Book of Saw. Yesterday, myself and Christian reviewed the first volume of the Jupiter's Legacy comic, which we will be reviewing the show later in the week.
I have to ask this again because I can't remember. Is that the one where Utopian dies in the end?
Not at the end, no. He dies in the middle.
Middle, okay.
Tomorrow night on the Metal Hammer of Doom, myself and Jesse are going to have some fun. We're going to play Saliva's Every 20 Years EP, which is re-recordings of some of their hits. And then we'll play a bunch of their singles, and a good time will be had because I love Saliva. My mom and dad weren't perfect, but still you'll hear no crying-ass bitching from me. Click, click, boom. Speaking of Jesse, he's dropping mini socks, but he's also dropping Unspoken Issues number 31, X-Men Volume 2, number 11. The aforementioned Jupiter's Legacy with myself and Robert, because you just can't get enough. You just can't get enough of Robert Winfree.
I actually am looking forward to talking about that one with you. I think it'll be fun.
Before that, myself and Chris Bailey are going to review Under Siege, which featured Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers versus Finn Juice and Eddie Edwards, plus a 6-pack challenge to determine the number 1 contender for Kenny Omega's Impact title. Yes.
It's Impact. No one cares.
And speaking of nobody cares, zombies, we will be reviewing WrestleMania Backlash shortly after we get done with Under Siege. Friday...
Best thing The Miz has done in his entire wrestling career. Get eaten by zombies.
And Terry's ACL.
Friday, we've got a shitload of shows dropping. For those that are like, hey, could you not drop 97 shows in one day? Sorry, you're getting 97 in one day on Friday. First, our Flashback Friday show is me and Robert laughing hysterically at Batman v Superman from years ago.
Boy, did we hate that.
Alexis Hejna and I are reviewing MODOK Assassin. Robert and I are reviewing Army of the Dead, and then the aforementioned Zombies trilogy and Aquarium of the Dead. That's me and Jason Teasley. On Saturday, from the archives, Pat Mullen and I reviewed the Missing in Action series. And then on Sunday, you'll hear a re-airing of Luke Cage Season 1 review. And we were supposed to review Shadow and Bone last week, but as you can hear, I was just having too many problems, and I couldn't do it. But I'm going to pull my shit together, and we're going to review Shadow and Bone this Sunday. You can hear our Daredevil and Jessica Jones reviews from the archives, Truth, Red, White, and Black, our deep dive into WrestleMania 2, our review of Wrath of Man, Deadpool the Duck, our Superblog team-up entries of Dr. Doolittle and Dr. Feelgood, Weezer, Van Weezer, and 900 hours of us debating who owns the Shield on Falcon and the Winter Soldier. At the end of which...
that was a fun thing to discuss.
After which, Alexis went into the woods to live deliberately, and I got an angry phone call from her husband going, "What have you done to my wife?"
Yeah,
It's a very bad Romanian accent.
Was the one begging at the end, going, "Please end this."
Alexis ran into the room shaking and, her clothing a tatter going, "I was a man once. For God's sake, shut up." The aforementioned Saw re-airs parts 1 and 2, our review of Woman in the Window, Stowaway, which I did with newcomer Jeff Sloboda, and Jesse and Alexis dropped their Tripped Up Trivia episode, which has been positively received, and Jesse's syndicated source material, What If the Alien Costume Had Possessed Spider-Man. All right, Alexis, go ahead and do your plugs.
All right. Well, yeah, we did drop our first episode of Tripped Up Trivia, and we're getting ready for next month's show, recording June 19th, and the theme is female superheroes, and we're still looking for contestants. So if you're interested in playing, go ahead and hit us up on Facebook or Twitter. Let us know. Everything is played over Skype, audio only, so, go ahead and give us a shout-out if you think this could be something you could potentially win at. Second plug. If you can't tell, I'm just a little tired today. Honeysuckle Rose Creations, the intersection of geek and chic. We're getting ready for our Memorial Day sale. It's going to be going on from the 24th to the 31st. Everything in our store will be 15% off, and we will be doing a charity drive. For every item that is ordered, we will donate $5 to the Veterans Community Front. This is the organization that help support the tiny homes for homeless veterans. This is a charity we have been involved in the past, and we are so happy to be working with them again. Go ahead and check out our shops on Etsy and Handmade at Amazon, and as always, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for more information. Honeysuckle Rose Creations, the intersection of geek and chic.
Jason, tell them how everything's slippery soap and you're going to piss people off on the Black Irish.
No, Mark, you can just go fuck yourself. I'll just piss you off.
Damn.
Oh, please. Mark works in a jail, if you haven't heard. You think being told to go fuck himself is going to bother him?
He probably has somebody to fuck him for him. I'm sorry, Mark. You're probably holding somebody's pocket walking around. We understand.
I do get told today. I got told my mother sucks dick as some crackhead got dragged past me. That's how my days go.
You should have said no. How do you think I got here? She wouldn't. She just wanted to back her up. But anyway, you can find me on the Kickoff on the W2M network, as well as the aforementioned Black Irish, where, as Mark says, I say I want to piss people off and never do. Wait till you see the next one. I'm pretty sure that it's going to piss people off. Me and Eric is just waiting to drop that one. It's going to be heated. But that's all I got. You can find me this Friday talking about the great CGI that can be found in the Zombies movies that would make Robert's head explode.
I think that movie releasing gave me a migraine, even though I didn't know it was coming out and hadn't seen it.
Let's just say this: it is below sci-fi level of Zombie Tidal. Zombie Tidal Wave looked like a big budget picture compared to this.
I hope you guys have fun watching and or discussing.
Oh, it's great. It's me and Mark. Where you have fun watching stupid shit like that.
You're the fun one. We all know. He only references it every time we podcast. Boy, if only Jason were here, I'd be having fun.
Jason
I've
is
never-
the guy that when we asked the name of the administrator of Cloud City in Empire Strike Back, he wrote Scott Bakula.
Exactly. I cannot be held accountable for some of my answers. I was on death's door.
Okay. Robert, go ahead and do your plugs.
Well, in addition to all the stuff that Mark just referenced, you can find our reviews from the last week. You can find me hosting the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast. If you're a fan of the sport, tune in. I review stuff, I preview stuff, I talk news. I do so alone as everyone has abandoned me. It's cold and the wolves are out. This particular episode, we review UFC 262, which saw the crowning of a new UFC lightweight champion. And the sad continued decline of one Tony Ferguson. It's just crushes my soul a little bit. You can also find my full report for that particular event in the MMA Zone of 411mania.com. I cover pro wrestling on occasion. AEW's Dark Elevation program on Mondays, whatever MLW is doing on Wednesdays, and WWE SmackDown on Thursdays. Used to be Thursday Night SmackDown, now it's Friday. On Fridays. That's kind of my life. And then Tuesday, UFC on ESPN Plus 46. Former bantamweight champion Cody Garbrandt is taking on Rob Font. That is a heck of a fight. Rest of the card, not quite so much, but that fight, that's a great fight. Very important
is
one
that?
for both men.
When is that?
The event or the fight?
Wouldn't they be the same thing?
It's Rob Font and Cody Garbrandt.
When is it?
Saturday.
Okay, because I thought you said it was on Tuesday.
No, UFC events are Saturday.
I know, but that's why I was like, wait, what? Because a week from today, you're supposed to be on the Metal Hammer of Doom talking about Galactic Kraken.
Your insistence on calling one man by his fake band name is a little bit annoying.
That's
But
me.
yeah, I will be on an upcoming episode of the Metal Hammer of Doom. We will be breaking down the Jonathan Young original album, Starship Velociraptor, which should be a lot of fun. Should be a lot of fun to talk about that.
All right, folks, that's it. That's our review of Spiral from the Book of Saw. For Robert Winfree, Alexis Hejna, Jason Teasley, I'm Mark Radulich. Be well, be safe, and behave.